friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in for another video. My name is Sarah. Today is my son Elijah's second birthday. I still cannot believe what I'm saying because I cannot believe it's been 2 years that he's here with us, that the Lord has blessed us. He's such a sweet boy. And so today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story. I don't think anything could get more apt than this, so let's get quickly started. So I'm planning to do this labor and delivery in 2 parts because it's going to be very long and boring. So I want to cut this video into 2 parts, and this is going to be the first part, and the next part you will see his birth. I just wanted to make my labor and delivery video, but I was just waiting for that right moment, and I think today will be the perfect day for that. And also I'll be leaving photos as much as I can find them. I will try leaving them around this video so you can enjoy as I speak. So to start off with, on February 5th, as much as I remember, because I remember a lot of how it happened, but when it was actually happening, that is during the labor, is when everything quite went a little hazy. But I still remember everything so vividly, so clearly, because of course it's the first experience when a girl becomes a mother. Labor and delivery is something no girl can ever forget, and every delivery is different. So mine started off on February 5th. Precisely around 7 in the evening. So what happened is my mum had come from Bahrain. She came on the 2nd, and which is my husband Derek's birthday. So Derek and Elijah, they share the same month, just few days apart. So she came on the 2nd. And before all this, I was due on the 20th of February. So that's all I had in mind. I was just waiting. I was, of course, already full term. I was 38 weeks by then. But I was still anticipating, because every time I would go to the hospital, they kept asking me to keep a watch, because it could happen anytime after 37 weeks when you're full term. So it was around 7 p.m. on the 5th when I had a little bit of cramping. But I didn't really feel anything much, and there was like no back pain or anything like that. And after a while, I just saw a little bit of spotting, and I immediately called up the birthing center, because before this we had like a birthing class where they told us anything that you think you might be going into labor with, you just have to immediately call the birthing center, and they gave us the number to it. So I immediately called up the birthing center, and I told them that I have mild cramps, nothing too much, and just a little bit of spotting, and they asked me to come back in. They asked me to come into the hospital so I can get checked. And so me, my mom, my in-laws, and my husband, all of us, we started off. It was around 10 p.m. By then I was very fine. I had no pain, nothing. I was just a lot excited, because I thought, like, I'm probably going to come back home with the baby. Yeah, so we started off, and the hospital, thankfully, by the Lord's grace, we are so close to our delivery hospital. We just 5 minutes away. So we started off, and we were at the hospital, and then I went into the birthing center, and when I went there, they asked me to, like, they checked my vitals. So they check your blood pressure, everything, and then they put sort of like a belt. I think most of the mommies would already know by now. They put a belt on me, and then they used these wires that would check if you are actually having contractions, and also to check the baby's heartbeat and everything. So everything was going fine, and they did find some sort of contractions happening there, but nothing too much. It was just very mild. And then they checked me, and I was just at 1 centimeter dilated. I was just 1 centimeter. And so the thing about here, at least here in Canada and the US, I'm sure, is they send you back home unless you are at least 5 centimeters dilated. So that was something that I always feared and I hated. I just didn't want to come back home, because you're so excited when you want to go, when you think that you're going to go into labor, you're going to have your baby, but imagine if they're going to just send you back home until you're, like, dilated. So that was something I didn't want to happen, but of course it did happen with me, because I was just 1 centimeter. So what they told me to do was, they asked me to walk around the hospital for a couple of hours. So by then it was already like 12 a.m. And my parents, my mom and my in-laws, they were at the waiting room, and me and my husband, we were just walking around the hospital. It was just the two of us because it was almost around 1 to 2 in the morning, and the hospital was pin drop silent, and we were just walking around, and it was nice. I still remember those times. We were walking around and I was doing some lunges and and it sounds really funny when I look back now, but I remember, because the thing is, we didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't know how long it would take for the dilation. So of course, after 2-3 hours, by then it was almost 2:30 in the morning, and then they checked me back again, and I was still at 1 centimeters. Nothing had happened, and so they sent me back home, and we came back home. And from then, and so what happened is, the very next day, that is on the 6th, I already had my OB appointment, my appointment with the gynecologist, and also a scan. So it so happened that way that I just went into labor quite a little earlier. So so throughout the night, that is from when we came back home on the 6th early morning, after we came back from the hospital, until I woke up the next day, I was actually in early labor, you could say, because I could not sleep through the pain. That's how I should say it, because they were like coming very frequently, so I was completely disturbed the entire night. I could not sleep. I was in quite a bit of pain, and so yeah, and I woke up very sleep deprived. Woke up and I was still in pain. I went and had a nice warm shower, and I still did have those contractions, and then we immediately started off to my OB appointment. So when I went there, I told her everything, what had happened. We had gone to the hospital the previous day and everything. So what she told me was, she said that because I was already having contraction and I was already at 1 centimeters, she said she would do like a membrane sweep, and that would kickstart my labor. So it wouldn't like prolong a lot, it would make things faster. So she told me, so once she did that, she told me that I would most definitely go into labor tonight or tomorrow maximum. So after that, and by then I was already in a lot of pain. I did feel I could not even talk. Sitting at the OB office, she was asking me a lot of questions. I still remember she was asking me my address, and I just, like, nothing was getting into my brain because I was in quite a bit of pain. And she saw that, and so she knew that I was already in the early stages of labor. And then later we went into my scan, which was already scheduled. So I had my scan, and so while at the scan center also, that lady, she said that she could see me having the contractions on the screen. So everything was quite going quite well. And then I came back home. When I came back home, I could not have lunch. It was just these contractions were just coming and going, and they lasted like for about a minute. So I would just be in pain for a minute, and then next minute I'm fine. It was very funny, but that's how contractions are. And if you've had contractions, you know how they feel. They start very low, like they start like your period cramps. It starts slowly, and then there is a peak where it goes, and then it goes down. So it's almost like a wave, and this is how all contractions are. This is how they work, and so when it's at the peak is when you actually feel the most pain, and then it subsides. So we came back home, and I did not immediately go to the hospital because I wanted to labor as much as I can at home, because I did not want to be sent back home again. So we were at home, and my parents and my in-laws, they went to sleep in the afternoon, and I just could not. Derek was with me. He was helping me with the back pain. He was massaging me. Nothing, it's just my husband is here walking around feeling proud of himself. So he was with me. He was helping me through the labor, and then I had a nice, very warm shower, which did help, but I was definitely feeling them. So from afternoon, that is from when we came back from my OB appointment, she had asked me to time my contractions. So we learned from the doctor is these contractions should be quite frequent, and each contraction should at least be for 1 minute long. So that's when you're actually in labor, and I was timing them, and I could see the contractions increase, and so I just we were just, as much as I could, I just wanted to labor at home, and with the just lying down and like trying different positions, trying to just relieve the pain. And then it was around 9:30, and we just had like a quick dinner. And for sure, one thing was for sure is I knew that I was going to definitely deliver that night or the next day, and so I did not want to be at home for that night. I was just praying I had to be, they would take me in the hospital and get me admitted, because this pain was increasing and I knew I will not be able to bear it after a while. And I most definitely wanted to go. It was around 10 when we again packed up everything and we left to the hospital. And then I was through the way I was crying, I was in pain. I remember everything so clearly, even though it's been 2 years now. When we reached the hospital, it was the same lady who checked me yesterday, and then it was so funny because when she saw me crying, she was like, yes, this is how I know you're in labor. You are in labor now, because yesterday she was like, because yesterday you were smiling and I knew you were not in labor. So I was actually in active labor then. And then when she had checked me, I was around 4 centimeters by then. So because I had come the previous day, she immediately admitted me. Otherwise they would have definitely asked me to labor quite a little more for a while until I dilated a little more, because it was the first time. It just filled me with a lot of anxiety. And not just that, I was not dilating as fast. I was having the contractions, but I was dilating very slowly, so I was feeling the pain, but nothing was quite happening. So I just definitely wanted to get admitted. And by then I was around 4 centimeters, and they asked me if I wanted an epidural. They checked my vitals again, and they plugged me into a lot of wires, and they were monitoring the baby's heartbeat. And that's when my doctor, she came in and she asked me if I needed an epidural. It's at 4 centimeters, and they ask you to usually wait until you're like 5 or 6 and then give you an epidural. But because she said that she had an appointment, like an operation that was happening, and so she had to be there for another C-section, so she asked me if I could wait until then. So that was almost like an hour, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to wait. So I asked her for the epidural. I asked her for that, and then she said that she would break my water, because until then my water had not been broken. So by then it was around 11:30, 12 when I got the epidural, and she asked me to rest because they knew that it would go for at least until early morning. That's when I'll be fully dilated. So I think I'm going to stop here for this video. I'll keep the actual delivery in the next video. So please stay tuned for that, because I did not want to make this one big video. It's going to be very long, and I talk a lot. So it's better if I make a separate video for that. I'm hoping you are enjoying my labor and delivery until now, and also the images that I've tried to collect and put up. Please stay tuned for the next video. It's coming up very soon, and be sure to please like and subscribe to my channel, and please turn on those notification bell as well if you haven't done so already, so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And until next time, my friends, see you soon. Bye bye.